Who's really at fault? You decide after hearing these stories. Story 1. AITA Family Vacation. My family of 5 has been planning a Disney vacation with my sister and her family of 5 and our parents. Initially, when my sister presented the idea, she said we could be at Disney for our children's birthdays. They are a week apart, my daughter's is first, and celebrate each birthday. Suggested length of stay was around 10 days. My sister purchased her Disney tickets and bought a 4-day pass. She did not discuss this with any of us. Then announced the travel day would be on my daughter's birthday due to work and school schedules. My wife and I said we understand their choice but would not be willing to travel on our daughter's birthday. We were asked to reconsider but have stood our ground. After review costs of flights and accommodations, it ended up being cheaper for us to arrive 2 days early and leave one say after everyone. My sister is livid and says we are ruining her kid's vacation and purposely excluding her and her family. Even though once they arrive, we are going along with her itinerary and no group plans were changed on our end. Am I wrong for going before everyone? Story 2. AITA for making my nephew cry. Heyo, M34 here. Was out to dinner with my sister last night, and I was sat next to her little boy that she had with her male spouse. I tend to be a good uncle most of the time, and I love the little guy, so I was keeping him entertained while the adults chatted about work. All of a sudden, I pretend to take his nose. Well, that does it. He's in tears, and my sister turns to me and asks me what I did. What did I do? I pretended to take his nose. I think everybody has done that to a younger sibling or a child nearby at some point or another. So I say, it's a joke. Do you really think I stole his nose? Well, she's upset that he's crying, and she can't get him to calm down, so she starts chewing Emmy out. Naturally, I tell her that if he can't take a joke, that's not my fault, and she should maybe start taking his nose or something. After that, I am asked to leave dinner. I feel like my family overstepped quite a bit here, and I am having trouble getting a hold of my sister to chat, so here I am. Do yo thing, Reddit. Story 3. AITA for asking in-laws not to bring their dogs to visit our baby? Let me start off by saying, I love dogs. My husband and I have had a dog for over 5 years. Dogs are the best. My in-laws have 2 of the same type of dogs, and when all 3 of the dogs get together, it's like WrestleMania, and they have the best time. My husband and I recently adopted a baby, and when my in-laws, who live a few hours away, came to visit for the first time, they brought their dogs, and it was a lot to have 3 dogs and a newborn. My in-laws' dogs would start barking and running around and scaring the baby, and every time we tried to get the dogs to quiet down, my MIL would just say, "Let dogs be dogs." Now our baby is crawling, and while our dog doesn't mind if the baby accidentally grabs his fur or tail, my husband and I are both nervous that my in-laws' dogs who are not used to a baby wouldn't be as understanding and may unintentionally nip the baby, or something else would happen while the dogs are playing and the baby is crawling. My husband and I also don't want the dogs to start barking and wake the baby while she's sleeping. So when my MIL mentioned how much she wanted to visit the baby, I suggested the idea of them not bringing the dogs for all the reasons I mentioned above, plus stating this way: they could spend more time with the baby during their short visit and not have to worry about the dogs. My MIL said she understood, but then after we got off the phone, she texted that they were going to pass on our offer and will visit when the baby is old enough to enjoy the pups. Family should accommodate. AITA for asking my in-laws not to bring their dogs while visiting our baby? Story 4. AITA for telling my husband his face smells like a baby's butt? Okay, so I see how the title might sound incriminating. Let me explain. My 25F husband, 30M, has been using a shaving foam for quite a while that seems to not agree with his skin pH. While shaving it smells normal. Well, kinda as bad as most male-marketed products do. But the dry down is bad. Somehow it smells a bit like the bottom of a baby. Base notes of baby cream and top notes of discomfort. Weirdly lactonic as well. I worked with toddlers, that's where my reference point lies. And before you ask, that doesn't happen with other products. He's super well groomed and hygienic, and his own smell is very pleasant. Anyhow, he shaves every 2 to 3 days since his facial hair growth is relatively slow and usually in the morning before work, so I didn't notice much, if at all. When he shaved on the weekends, I usually didn't want to point it out, since I only smelled it once we got close. Now we were sitting together, and I casually mentioned it. He totally freaked, is looking to buy a new one, and flabbergasted as to why I never brought this up before. Plus, we recently went shopping in a pharmacy to restock all our products, and he's pissed I didn't bring it up there. TBH, I kinda forgot, but also that would be an odd convo to have in a store, right? He seems pretty upset and doesn't want to get close. Am I the AH here? Story 5. AITA for calling the cops because it sounded like someone was breaking in? Hello, first-time poster and burner account. Here's the situation. This just happened about 45 minutes ago. My BF and I were in the living room when we heard drilling outside our apartment door. We looked through the peephole, and the drilling was coming from the apartment next to us, right outside their door. Since Tuesday, we haven't heard any movement in the apartment next to us, and they have had a package outside of their door for over 4 days. There was whispering and banging as well, so we decided to call the cops. Cops show up, and through the door they sounded annoyed that someone had called. Are we the assholes for calling because it sounded like someone was breaking in next door? Edit. It's now 11 p.m. Story 6. AITA for refusing to pay rent to my late brother-in-law's parents? I'm looking for clarity and help figuring out what's right in this situation. I, 37F, am currently living in my late brother-in-law's condo. Let's call him Jeff. The condo is jointly owned by Jeff and his parents. At the time of Jeff's passing, he was still legally married to my sister, although they were separated. That said, they had been discussing reconciliation, and just a week before his death, he was still intimately involved with her. Despite this, Jeff's parents have refused to recognize my sister as his spouse. They've also taken possession of the 2 dogs that Jeff and my sister shared. One of the dogs has vet records listing my sister as the sole owner, and the other is listed as co-owned by both Jeff and my sister. It's been 2 months since Jeff passed, and his parents have completely cut off communication with my sister, blocking her on all platforms. She has now hired a lawyer and is beginning the probate process to claim what is legally hers, including any portion of Jeff's estate she may be entitled to. As for me, I had been paying monthly rent directly to Jeff through Apple Pay, though we never signed a formal lease. After everything that's happened, I've decided to stop sending payments to his parents until they agree to speak with my sister and address her rightful claims. In response, they've threatened to involve the authorities. I am actively looking for a new place to live and plan to move out as soon as possible. But in the meantime, I'm left wondering, AITA for getting involved. Should I have stayed out of it completely? Story 7. AITA for refusing to let my friend borrow my new bag? I, 25F, recently bought myself a new bag that I've been eyeing for a long time. I worked hard, saved up, and finally treated myself. A close friend came over, saw the bag, and immediately asked if she could borrow it for an upcoming party. I hesitated and said no because it's still brand new, and I'm really protective of it. She got upset, called me selfish, and said I should be willing to share since it's just a bag. Now I feel torn. On one hand, I don't think I should have to lend out something that's mine and so special to me. On the other hand, I don't want to seem like a bad friend for refusing. So AITA for not letting her borrow it? Story 8. AITA for not dropping out of college to work while my dad has leukemia? I'm 20 and my dad was recently diagnosed with leukemia. He's always been the one paying for the house and supporting us financially. And even now, he wants me to stay in school and finish my education. My mom, however, wants me to drop out and work full-time. She keeps saying I'm selfish for focusing on school, and her side of the family agrees with her. They think I'm horrible for not contributing more financially. For context, I do work, mostly side jobs, but it's not a lot of money. Since she started pressuring me, I've taken on more work to try to make extra money. I already pay for my own bills like my car payment, Wi-Fi, phone, and pets. But now I'm stretched thin between working, school, studying, and spending time with my dad. My mom is mad that I don't have enough time to do everything. She's also been emotionally abusive toward me and my sister. She threatens to kick us out and leave us with nothing if we don't do what she says. She tells her family that she's the one paying for the house, even though my dad always has, so now they think I'm lazy and ungrateful. Part of the problem is my parents never really prepared for something like this. They don't have health insurance or a plan for if one of them got sick, so now a lot of the pressure is falling on me and my sister. I know my mom's dad also died of cancer when she was younger, so maybe that's part of why she feels the way she does, but it doesn't change how she's treating us. So I'm stuck between my dad, who wants me to stay in school, and my mom and her family, who think I'm selfish and should drop out to work full-time. AITA for not dropping out and choosing to continue school while working side jobs. Story 9. AITA for not getting an ice cream machine with my GF? This is a small issue, but I still wanted to get some opinions. My GF, who I'll call Sam, and I have been dating for a few years now. We live together, and when we decide to buy an item for the house, we share the expenses on said item 50-50. Recently, a friend of ours has bought a new ice cream machine, and ever since seeing it, Sam has been asking to get one of our own, while I have been against buying one. First of all, we don't eat ice cream that often, even without the machine. In fact, I know that there is a cup full of ice cream in the freezer right now that has been sitting there unopened for quite some time now. That is not the only reason, however. When Sam sees something like this ice cream machine, she always hypes up how she would use it all the time and how this machine could change our lives, etc. But after the initial hype fades, she never looks at it again. The same thing happened when she wanted a new fancy coffee machine, an air fryer, a bread machine, and the list goes on. She convinces me that they would be good to have around, only for them to never be used again. I told her this, and she promised that this time would be different, but that was also what she said about the coffee machine. We are doing very well financially, and the thing costs, when converted to USD, around $500, which we can definitely afford, but then again, if no one will use it in the end, what's the point? So, AITA for not contributing to buying the machine? And AITA. Can I tell you my story? Hello, the story is very long. I was 16 when I was late with the father of my child. He was 18. We met and were completely without brains, not thinking about protecting the outcome of the pregnancy. When he informed the young man about this, he said that it was not his and left. It turned out that behind my back he was already with another virgin, SHKA. In the end we stopped communicating, but I was afraid to tell my parents about pregnancy and how I could hide about it for up to 5 months. Wore baggy sweaters. The term was not long, and I, as I could, always pulled my stomach in this and it was not visible. I bought pads and pretended that I had these days. My sister found out about this, but she did not say silent to her parents, because she did not care about me. Until one moment, it was Saturday, and we always had a full cleaning of the house and a bathhouse. On Saturday, my sister cleaned 7 houses and wanted to walk around, but my mother did not let go and said that she needed to wash with washing. We had an old washing machine in one compartment washes, rinse things in the basin, and push up in another compartment. And it was hard for my mother to do it alone because she was also in a position, and I was sitting with our younger brother and sister. At that time, there were 4 of us children, and 5 were to be born. The sister did not want to be able to do it and decided to just run away. Because of this, a scandal broke out between the sister and the mother. In this scandal, the sister shouted in response to her mother's words that there is no sense from her. Look at your MADADDY. Daughter, she's pregnant at all. Mom was shocked, flew home, ran up to me and lifted up my t-shirt and saw my small stomach. She started screaming, and how it happened, beat me in a fit of rage. The guests were her sister. They were shocked, and how could they calm my mother looking at me? What a wretched shame of the family. At 16 for getting pregnant. A week has passed since that scandal. I sat at home, almost without leaving my room. Mom could not look at me and did not speak to me until she thought it over. Everything that can, and that, in Doden's day, came to speak. I was very afraid to be in the same room with her. She reassured me and said that we were talking about this situation and we would continue to do whatever was needed. They talked for a long time, was very hard and scary, but we talked. Let's put me on the register in the hospital. And began to live on. There were small problems with the child due to the fact that I ate little and pulled the belly of the fetus, gained little everything. The child's father never appeared in my life. He was not convicted because of me. I said that everything was mutual. I condemned him for crushes and petty hooliganism, and I forgot about him. The day of birth came. It was very difficult, but when I gave birth to the first thing, they asked me if you were taking OR, staying in the hospital. I said that I was taking this my child. Story 11. AITA for kicking my cousin out of my room and ruining family relationships? When my cousin first moved into our house, PLS, read my previous post about him for better understanding, I felt pity for him. Out of hospitality, we Kazakhs are very serious about that. I shared with him my nice room instead of giving the spare one, which was in bad shape. My room had a big 2-person bed where I was sleeping Abdi, enjoying my life, a workspace not decent but okay, good ventilation for summer and heating floors for winter. It was not perfect, but compared to the spare room, it was comfortable. I shared my bed with him. I was not thrilled about it, but I wanted to be understanding. I even gave him my old laptop, which he later sold without telling me. I just wanted to use it for light tasks, but after I found out that he sold it, I was disappointed, and I was looking for summer jobs. Months later, around April, he bought an IQOS kind of e-cigarettes and started smoking it in our room. I asked him to stop, since I am still a teenager and did not want my health be damaged, but he ignored me. Often he came home late from his work, smoked while I was sleeping, and filled the room with that awful smell. By summer, I was working long days to save up for a new laptop because I really needed that one since the old one was sold by him, and I would come home exhausted only to find the room reeking again. I finally told my dad, but instead of handling it calmly, he argued harshly with my cousin, and now their relationship is strained. I had a meltdown. I just did explode, and was arguing with everyone. I told my parents they were ruining my childhood, that I had no private space, like why wouldn't they find another ways to kick out my cousin from our house, and I spoke rudely to them like, why Kazakhs are so hospitable? We indeed do not owe anyone anything, but still we help everyone. I even left home for a week to cool off and was living outdoors in Talgar and our dacha. When I came back, I told my cousin to get out of my room and never come back. Since then, he has been sleeping on the couch in the living room. Now he keeps insulting me, calling me a crybaby for throwing a tantrum over smoking, and says I caused unnecessary drama in the family. So AITA for kicking my cousin out of my room and straining family relationships over this. Story 12. AITA for kicking my sister out of my house because she won't work and keeps smoking around my kids. My sister has been living with me for a couple of months. She asked for a place to stay until she got back on her feet, and I agreed because I didn't want her out on the street. The problem is, she hasn't really tried to do anything with her time here. No job hunting, no helping with bills, not even small stuff around the house. It's like having an extra teenager in the house. On top of that, she smokes inside. I smoke too, but I never do it around my kids, 6 and 4. I always step outside. I've told her repeatedly not to smoke in the house when the kids are around, but she just shrugs it off and keeps doing it. After the last time, I finally told her she needed to leave. She flipped out and called me a hypocrite for smoking at all. Now my mom is mad at me, saying I should have been more patient since my sister has nowhere else to go. I feel kind of guilty, but I don't think I'm wrong for putting my kids first. Story 13. AITA for hating our family pet we got together. I know this sounds horrible just reading the title, and I'm probably the asshole. I, 26 female, and my fiancé, 27 male, met online back in 2018. I was living with roommates and had my own dog for around 2 years when we met. My lease was going up, so we decided I would move to be with him. Whole time I was told my dog could come up until the day before, so I left her with my sister for the time being. We lived together for around 2-ish years before deciding to get our own place. I tried numerous times to get my dog back, but he rejected. Fast forward another year, he wants me to go to the shelter where I agreed to adopt a puppy. I just wanted to make him happy. Not even 24 hours after having this dog, I begged him to take it back. The vibe wasn't right, or I just felt guilty for replacing my dog. I don't know exactly, but things didn't feel good in my heart. He refused. It's now been 4 years with this dog. I have tried numerous times to bond with this dog, and I just can't. All I can think of is my dog I gave up to be with my soulmate. Every day is constant fighting about rehoming the dog. I can't even stand the sight of it. Everything about it drives me insane. I love animals, so this is already confusing. Maybe it's resentment? I don't know, but I can't keep living my life this way. My dog I gave away is all gray and old, not gonna live much longer, and it makes it even harder for me to have sympathy/vibes with this dog we share. Is it crazy of me to leave my partner of 7 years over this? I just feel like I'm absolutely delusional/ridiculous at this point to even consider it. 14. AITA for not wanting a surprise birthday party? Like the title says, IF turned 41 tomorrow. I just wanted a chill day with my family, parents and youngest brother. My mom was going to cook a meal for me. I bought cupcakes and ice cream. That's fine by me. The issue comes with my youngest brother. Let's call him Steve. Steve, 33M, took it upon himself to plan a surprise party for me. The problem wasn't with the intention, but the execution, and I suspect, the motivation. He decided he wanted to invite his friends and girlfriend, none of whom I've ever spoken to before. I'm a fairly introverted person. I do not like the idea of having to entertain and impress people I do not fucking know on my own fucking birthday. The idea of any last-minute planning also stresses me the hell out. This is not my idea of a good surprise, but rather a panic attack waiting to happen. Making matters worse, he didn't run this by our parents at all, and this whole thing was meant to happen in their home. He thought these random people would just be invited in, and everyone would be okay with it? We only found out about this surprise party because he haphazardly mentioned that his girlfriend would be coming over tomorrow on my birthday, while trying to gaslight my mother into believing she was overreacting about having people over at the last possible second with no preparation. Once I realized what he was doing, I said straight out that I didn't want it. He proceeds to have a freaking meltdown about how I'm a stupid bitch who's ruining everything and don't know how to appreciate a good thing. Despite insisting he did this to show me love, he refused to consider my feelings or that of our parents who do not want people they don't know in their home, especially without any proper preparation or warning. He cussed us all out and began making deranged accusations about me being under the power of our parents and having no idea how the world works because of the internet. Meanwhile, I have a passport and have traveled to multiple countries, and am in the process of planning to move out of the country within the next few weeks. I am honestly tired of his alcohol-fueled mood swings and generally childish behavior, and this feels like the last straw. But maybe I'm wrong. AITA here? Story 15. AITA for being upset when my brother calls me a good girl. My little brother, 11M, has gotten into the habit of calling me 16F, a good girl/bad girl, and it makes me uncomfortable. Yet, when I said something, my entire family joked and said that I was overreacting. I don't want to be called good girl/bad girl or good boy/bad boy by my little brother. And when I obviously got frustrated by my family not taking me seriously, they acted like I was some jerk. So, AITA? Edit. I brought this up to my mother hoping she'd understand. She never does. She claimed to be hurt and betrayed that I took that opinion of strangers online over her opinion, that I would post an argument online over teasing she knew I didn't like. I don't know why I open up anymore. She never takes my opinions and feelings seriously unless they align with hers. I wish I could move out, but I have a few years until then. She claims to love me, but she thinks my sexuality is gross, she makes fun of me for liking women, and she calls me a snowflake when I say that her jokes were hurtful. Story 16. AITA for not knowing where the car is parked at the airport. I, 33M, and my wife, 30F, have 3 kids, 8, 5, 1. She wanted to travel for the summer vacation. I'm not a fan of traveling, but I told her, pick the city you like, because I know how much she enjoys it. We decided to pack a week before, but that week I was busy at work, covering for my manager, and mentally overwhelmed with a potential job change. Every evening I came home late and found her on her phone for hours. Nothing was packed. We spent the weekend packing. I finished my bag early and kept asking if she needed help, but she kept saying, no, I need to put the kids' clothes. To help her, I took care of the kids so they wouldn't interrupt. On Monday, I drove 3 hours dropping off our luggage for early check-in. That evening, suddenly, she started crying, and I just hugged her and stayed with her until she calmed down. On the flight day, we were late. I parked at the departure terminal, and she booked the parking ticket on her phone. At the airport, she mixed up the boarding gate. I didn't get upset, just quickly moved us to the correct gate. The flight had 3 connected seats, so I sat with the kids, including the 1-year-old, so she could relax. During the trip, I handled most of the baby care, diapers, milk, showers, to give her a break with the older kids. In multiple occasions, I recommend we go a specific path, since I am the one pushing the stroller, and she says, no, let's go the other way. The results is that I push through a hard path with the stroller, or I have to carry it since there is no ramp, and I got no apology whatsoever. After the trip, we landed at the arrivals terminal. I assumed we'd stop and ask for directions to the car, since arrival and departure terminals are often different. I was pushing the luggage trolley with a bag in the other hand. She saw the exit, ran out like a headless chicken and said, here's the parking. We checked 3 different parking lots. She was rushing, running ahead while I struggled to keep up with the luggage. After the 3rd wrong lot, she snapped, do something. Find the car. I asked an airport employee for help, and they guided us to the car. It took about 5 minutes. I asked for the parking ticket to exit, but she couldn't find it. After 10 minutes of searching, we had to get help from security to leave the lot. It was around 9 p.m. with an hour drive home, and she stayed mad and silent the whole ride. The next day, I sat down with her and asked what I did wrong. She said I should have thought to find the car beforehand. I pointed out that I suggested we ask after the first wrong lot, but she refused, saying, there's no time, we need to act. She said she was stressed from the trip and her work the next day, which led to her breakdown. But I was under stress too, and I still stayed calm throughout. My thought was if I didn't find the car parking beforehand, you didn't find the parking ticket beforehand either, but this is the double standard life we live in. So AITA? 17. AITA for spamming my family members with sources. So I, 40F, have a family member, 36F, that has decided that she is, of course, smarter than any researcher or doctor. God would tell her personally if she weren't. Mostly I just respond to the more egregious falsehoods and BS, including but not limited to, how do you know that vaccines weren't what made you autistic? Doctors just want to make you sick. People only work in the medicine stuff, her words, to get control over other people. As is typical with this sort of thing, she has escalated into the tradwife sphere. It pushed me over the edge when I found out she was getting an older relative into drinking hydrogen peroxide. Yes, really, apparently they saw it on, you guessed it, TikTok. Now it is a kick into raw milk, yogurt, and cheese making, etc. And of course, no idea how to check temps or sanitize anything. So I started sending texts with medical studies and sources to her and the family group, some very graphic, at many hours of the day, since as medical staff I'm often up very early. My spouse wants me to just not irritate anyone and just let her have her opinion. AITA for trying to spread peer-reviewed cheer? Story 18. AITA for telling my mom not to drink before meeting up? I, 19F, used to live with my mother, 45F, until her drinking became worse. I left at the age of 17 to live with my grandmother as I felt safer living with her. My mother has always had a drinking problem, but a year before I moved out, it became worse. It got to the point where she drank every single day apart from the time she had to go into the office for her job. While I was living with her, I didn't feel safe to be in the car with her as she frequently would drink prior to driving. I became very depressed while living there, and I had many dark thoughts about ending it all just to get away from the situation fast enough. Now that I live with my grandmother, I've been trying to maintain a relationship with my mother. It's been hard to not associate her with alcohol, but I've been trying my best to separate that aspect of her so I can genuinely enjoy my time with her when we hang out. I've only hung out with her a handful of times a year, mainly around the holidays and special events like my graduation and birthdays. A couple of months ago, I hung out with my mother for my birthday. We couldn't hang out on my actual birthday, so we hung out the day before. The day before the hangout, I had asked her not to drink prior to meeting up, and she assured me that she wouldn't. When she arrived at the restaurant we planned to meet up at, I could immediately tell that she had drank. I stayed silent the entire lunch due to how pissed and upset I was. Seeing her in that state just reminded me of what it was like to live with her and how this was the second birthday that she's done this. I later talked with my therapist about the situation. She recommended that I should set boundaries when meeting my mom. I later texted my mom and said that if she shows up drunk, then I won't hang out with her, and that if she decided to drink, she needs to let me know that she can't hang out. After I sent the text, there was some back and forth with me reiterating what I had texted before, and her claiming that she wasn't drinking and saying, "I'm sorry you're feeling this way." To me, it felt like she was insinuating that I'm doing this for no reason and that her drinking isn't the problem. I just don't want drinking and feeling like shit to be a part of my life anymore. I've talked with some of my friends and my grandmother about the situation. My grandmother is all for the boundaries, but some of my friends say that I'm taking things too far. AITA? Story 19. AITA for not waiting outside? So I, 20F, don't drive because of medical history, a form of narcolepsy. Today is Pride for my town, and my entire friend group all go every year. Before any asks, I live in a college town, so the city holds off on throwing Pride until the college students get back. I'm from the Midwest, and it's hot and humid, and I don't want to be outside while I'm just standing around waiting for my friends to come pick me up. So I wait inside my house, literally right next to the door, and I watch my camera so when they pull up, I can just walk out and lock my door and go to the car. It takes a total of a minute, if that. Today, there was a new girl in our group, one of my friend's coworkers, like 22-ish F, called A. AA. Soon as I got into the car, A immediately says, "You really should be waiting outside. It's rude to keep people waiting like that." I'm not exactly confrontational, so I just shrug, and someone else changed the subject. I get if I left them waiting for a while, but it's a minute. I have my shoes on and everything ready. Is that rude? Story 20. AITAH for not helping my dad's friend ruin herself financially. My dad has a female friend whom he has shared trauma with, losing both of their spouses last year. She had been dicked around by her family, who was trying to get the $60,000 that she got from her husband after he had passed away. She lost her house to her stepson that they had been living in for 27 years, and she was being taken advantage of by both her actual children from another man as they were trying to take the money from her as well. After moving out from her son's place, she moved into an RV that was in the middle of nowhere, and literally they were living off the land. They had no electricity and no amenities. She convinced my dad to let her move here for a week so she can get a car, and things straightened out here. That was a month and a half ago. She was helping my dad and I financially, and she got me a car for $4,700. Unfortunately, she had started falling victim a few weeks ago to a scammer who claimed he was Elon Musk, giving her a Tesla car and $30,000. At first, I only helped her with getting gift cards because I thought it was for her daughter, which had a birthday recently, but then she came clean and told me what it was really for, and I told her I wasn't going to help anymore. I would help her to get groceries and anything else, just no longer getting these cards for the scammer. She can still go on her own, but she has to do it herself, but she has trouble walking, which is why she needs somebody with a vehicle to help her. Today, she asked me to go to Walgreens to get the amenities, but I asked her point blank if she was going to get more gift cards, and she got upset with me and told me, "Why are you getting upset about the cards? It's my money. I can do whatever I want with it." That is true, however. I figured she was going to the Walgreens because she wanted to get gift cards and the amenities, and she wanted me to help her. I didn't want to help her get any more gift cards for this scammer, which she insists is still yet to come to fruition, because she still believes in it. Now my question is, am I the asshole by not helping her with a ride in the vehicle she helped me get, or am I doing the right thing by standing firm and not helping her get these cards? Story 21. AITA for refusing to let my cousin use my gaming laptop, although he needed it for studying. Hi Reddit, I'm a teenager and live in Kazakhstan. My big cousin recently came from another city to study in Almaty, and it's normal here for relatives to stay together, so we had to accept him, akin to host families. Yesterday, he asked if he could use my gaming laptop for studying. I said no. Why? Because last time he borrowed money from me, he didn't pay me back. Honestly, I was just scrolling Reddit, but said to him that I'm working on my summer school project. He got annoyed, saying I was being selfish and that he really needed it for university documents, etc. But the thing is, this laptop is my hard-earned property. I was working on 2 jobs all summer to get it, and I work hard for my time. Letting him use it felt like giving away my effort for free, especially since he still owes me money. So Reddit AITA for refusing to use my laptop? PS Reddit, if you want to hear another story with that cousin, I would be very happy to tell that story. Story 22. AITA. Family thinks I am being selfish. I recently got a part-time job at a liquor store that is close to where I live. I work 2 jobs now. My goal is to have money saved, just in case if anything bad happens. Because a lot of people, including myself, feels like the economy is not doing well. I ended up telling my mother and brother about me working there, and they got so angry at me and said how reckless I am being and that I am risking my life. I do know that there is a risk everywhere. However, where I work, it is in the suburbs. It is not in a bad part of town. There is not a super late night shift up. I get off at 9 p.m. every night. There are security cameras everywhere. There is even a button that I press that's behind the desk in case if anything happens. Also, there is a police station close by. Even after expressing these things to my family, they blew up on me saying that I am being selfish and that I am not acting right. My mother says that she feels like that I stabbed her in the back due to her lending me money and knowing I am working a potentially dangerous job. She said that she would never put people that loved her in a position to where they would worry all the time. I am not going to just randomly quit because I know it is not fair to those people. I have been working there for almost 2 months. Many customers that come through are regulars. They're really nice people. They're just wanting to buy their booze and leave. I am aware that there is a small possibility of something happening, but that is literally everywhere. To me, it sounds so manipulative and draining, but I want to hear what other people think. AITA for refusing to randomly quit due to the worries from her? Story 23. AITA for calling someone an alcoholic after they ruined parties for 2 years? I, 18F, recently had a big results day party, as we got our A-level results here in the UK on the 14th. As a result, me and my friends were drinking, many of which are emetophobic, relevant later. My friend Alex, 18M, has a genetic medical condition that, in broad summary, because I admittedly don't understand it all, means nothing in his body works. He has recently got a mobility cane because his own legs can't handle standing still without breaking or something similar. All of my friends, about 11 total, all ate and drank about the same throughout the day. However, Alex suddenly became very out of it and promptly passed out. This often happens as a result of his condition, so we didn't question it too much and set him on our decking in a sleeping bag so we didn't disturb his rest. He is an insomniac and didn't throw up on my floor around emetophobics. Only by sheer chance did my mother notice him throwing up whilst unconscious, face down. She set him up and called us for help, and he was still throwing up but had woken up by this point. My mother had gone to fetch scissors to cut him out his shirt, It was so bad whilst I call an ambulance. He proceeded to lie to the paramedics about what he drank, so I told him later that he was an alcoholic who couldn't handle alcohol and I don't want him in my life after he ruined our decking. It has never been this bad, but events like this have happened every time we met up for the last 2 years, and I'm worried I may have been too mean when I admittedly snapped at him. So am I the AH for calling someone an alcoholic? Edit 1. Noticing a lot of this, so I thought I'd clarify. The medical condition is mentioned because his doctors say he shouldn't drink. We have suggested he not drink so much in the past, but he refuses. I have hosted about 8 parties at my house, 7 of which ended with Alex throwing up somewhere and attempting to continue drinking afterwards. He drinks when he is sad, after a friend's funeral, to the point he blacked out regularly, and he hasn't been able to go a single event. When he was 17 and we were 18, some of us were still 17 too, without drinking, even at the cost of violating the law by sneaking drinks in pubs. Edit 2. Sent Alex a message apologizing for the comment. Thank you so much everyone for helping me see things from a better perspective. No, you said not to message you again, but I just wanted to say one thing. After therapy and self-reflecting, I've come to the realization that calling you an alcoholic was not fair. It was a heavy label to put on you and unfair of me. Whilst you do have issues with overdrinking, it isn't the same as being an alcoholic, and I am sorry for that. And I am sorry I couldn't take better care of you on results day. I did the best I could. And I hope you were able to salog your shirt. I know it was your favorite. I do hope you find peace and a healthy relationship with alcohol going forwards. X. Story 24. AITA for not wanting to pay for the full month as I was told to go since I paid half already. This all started way before August. My best friend D and I were living together, and rent was $600 a month. From November through March of 24, I fell behind. I'll own that, only because he invited 8 additional people to stay with us, and I was paying utilities, plus feeding mouths and giving cash here and there, as he too was out of work for about 3 months on paternity leave, even though he didn't see his kid. I've never denied I owe him. By April through July, that added another $2, $400 in back rent. Altogether, it's a few $1,000s. But here's the thing. He knew I was behind, and at different points even told me, don't worry about the old house bills, and that we'd get through it together. I took that as reassurance that I had breathing room, and I always said I'd pay him back when I could. Over time, he invited 8 people to stay with us rent-free over the course of 6 months prior. I fell behind, but I always acknowledged I owed him and even kept detailed records. By July, I had it worked out. I'd pay him back slowly since I finally got a job, and I told him I'd be moving out at the end of August. For August specifically, I told him, and he agreed, I'd pay $600 split in 2 payments, $300 from the first check, $300 from the second, plus $350 for the water bill. I paid the first $300 on time. Then I lost my job on August 8th. A few days later, he told me if I couldn't pay everything right away, I needed to be out in 2 days, by the 15th. I argued it wasn't fair since I was still on track to pay the full $600 plus water, but he didn't change his mind. He texted me basically saying I could leave and go, so I did. I paid the $350 water bill, moved out on the 15th and left it at that. I didn't pay the last $300 for August because I thought his ultimatum meant it was waived. Now he says I'm spinning the situation and still owe him that $300, even though I followed his written instruction to leave mid-month. I still fully admit I owe him several thousand in back rent overall and will pay when I get back on my feet, but I feel like the last $300 shouldn't count since he told me to leave. Am I the Story 25. AITA for gatekeeping my late aunt's kugel recipe? This may sound silly, but I'm in a little family squabble over kugel, a Jewish noodle casserole. Just last week, my aunt passed away. I was home alone with our elderly dog while my husband and kids were away visiting my in-laws. That's when I found out, so I was unable to attend the funeral. Less than a month ago, I had found my old recipe book that had gone missing 8 years prior during a move. I had searched endlessly for it because it had held my aunt's coveted kugel recipe. Over the years, I tried getting the recipe again from her and other family members, but none of them tasted the same. When I found my book and read the recipe, I realized that the reason none of them were the same was because I had written it in her kitchen as we made it together. I wrote down everything she said, including her funny measurements, like 1 cup, or 2, maybe 1/4 box. It wasn't just a recipe, it was a memory. When she passed, I shared the story on Facebook. My cousin, her son, asked for the recipe. Of course, I sent it to him. But then he asked me to post it on my Facebook. He even went as far as saying that if I didn't do it, he would. I told him it felt odd and asked why. He said it would be nice so that anyone could make it. I usually don't like gatekeeping, but this feels different. This recipe took me years to recover. Even her own kids didn't have it. It just feels like something that should stay in the family. So AITA for not wanting to post it online for everyone? Story 26. AITA for feeding my brother's dog a vegan diet? I have been vegan for 5 years. I do not eat or handle any meat products, and that includes in pet food too. My brother Sam, 22M, knows this, and although he's frequently mocked my diet, he respects how I choose to live my life, and I respect his. Sam has never been the prepared type. He booked a 3-week holiday and remembered last minute that he had not made any arrangements for his dog. He called me up as I live locally and asked me if I would mind feeding his dog while he was away. I agreed, however, I let him know that I would only be feeding his dog vegan food while he was away, in line with my beliefs. I have 2 friends who have feed their dogs vegan diets, and they're perfect. Okay. Sam got all pissed and said that's ridiculous, and his dog needs to eat a proper diet, not vegan rubbish. I said if he feels that strongly he is free to make other arrangements for his dog, but I refuse to handle meat products. He said finding someone else to feed his dog would be really difficult at such short notice, however, I refused to budge. He hung up the phone in a strop. A few hours later, he called me back saying he'd accept my offer. So for the next 3 weeks while he was away, I fed the dog vegan dog food every day. Sam came back at the end of his holiday and noticed some of the packets of vegan dog food lying around and went ballistic. He said he never thought I'd actually go through with it, and that surely not even I would be psycho enough to impose a vegan diet on a dog. He called me extremist and accused me of endangering his dog. The dog is perfectly okay. He has since told some other family members, and now they have all fallen out with me. AITA here? Story 27. AITA for making friends. For context, I'm a single 25-year-old woman with 2 friends, Angie and Bijou, who are both the same age as me, but married, so they don't go out a lot. I don't have any other friends or single friends BC. I'm a very intense person, ride or die, and it's rare to find people who are just as intense. Like if I'm your friend, now we're family. So they're my only close friends. My friend Angie noticed that I was getting depressed. BC, she and Bijou never went out with me or had time to spend with me. I have no family too. So Angie introduced me to her single girlfriends. We bonded instantly and started hanging out even during the week. Hangouts that Angie didn't like to go to, so we didn't invite her. And yes, Angie made it crystal clear that she didn't enjoy the kinds of places the girls and I went to. Time passed, and Bijou, who often disappears randomly and comes back just as randomly, was telling me her life updates. One of those updates was she made new friends at work. Then I said that it was awesome, and we should all hang out, BC. I wanted to meet the people she worked with. But then she replied, no, we shouldn't. Because I know you'll force friendships and end up stealing them from me the same way you stole Angie's friends. So I'm not going to introduce you to them. I was shocked, flabbergasted. I replied that I didn't force anything with anybody, much less steal anyone from Angie. People just liked me naturally. Which is true. I never start conversations. It was the girls who came up to me. Bijou didn't buy it and said she wanted to get closer to her new friends first, just to make sure that when she introduced me, I wouldn't become better friends with them than she was. Really sad after the thing Bijou said to me. Later I asked Angie if she thought I had stolen her single girlfriends, and she said yes. She admitted she was jealous not of them, but of me. BC, in her words, I'm too precious for them. She hadn't imagined we would get so close, but she said it had passed, and she's okay with the situation now. BC, she understands that we have more things in common. Now I've met another one of Angie's friends who's amazing. We get along so well that I actually miss her and I want to invite her to a place where Bijou invited me, but I'm not sure if that's the right thing to do. AITA for inviting Angie's friend to a place Bijou invited me to first? Is it strange? Am I forcing anything? All that drama made me extra careful with their friends. Story 28. AITA for laughing and being relieved about the reason my son's been getting into trouble? My youngest Danny is 14 and 7th and 8th grade was really hard on him. Me and his dad getting divorced, him coming out to us, and some of our family being virulently homophobic. He had to quit wrestling and go on a psych hold for a while, and being diagnosed as bulimic and bipolar. The last 2 years were a lot for him. Only a month in, and all of a sudden he's getting into trouble. Ewa, He's coming home late and skipping classes. He didn't show up for the last 2 football practices, even though he begged us to let him play, and I've smelled weed and alcohol on his clothes sometimes when he comes home. I've been really scared lately that Hez going off the deep end again, and we haven't wanted to push him. Thursday, I got a call from my sister at the office that he skipped school with Darren, some delinquent that he's been hanging out with. I'd had enough, so both me and his dad stayed up and waited outside till he got home late again. At around 12 a.m., he comes rolling in on the back of some older kid's motorcycle. I was beyond pissed. He jumped off at the driveway so we didn't meet his new friend, Darren, who rode off quickly. We gave him a good talking to about how he's being acting, and how stupid he was to be mixing his meds with alcohol. We of course asked about Motorcycle Boy, and he told us Darren's 16 and a cool guy blushing hard, and he was trying to impress him. I told him he was grounded and that he didn't need to change himself to impress some boy. After he went in the house, I felt really relieved and I just started laughing. I was so worried, and he was just trying to impress some stupid older boy. I made a joke about how he was just like me at that age, trying to date every older bad boy. My ex, of course, wasn't as amused and thinks I should be taking it more seriously. I told him that Danny is just doing normal kid stuff this time, but Hez still upset that I'm so relieved. AITA here? Story 29. AITA? Husband keeps waking up toddler. So our toddler started sleeping alone about a month ago. 15 months now. She goes to sleep around 7 p.m. I tried to be very quiet, at least until she falls asleep, so I don't wake her. I do a lot of household chores when she goes to sleep, but I do them quietly. My husband, on the other hand, makes so much noise. Of course, I also will accidentally make a noise once in a while. I am very apologetic and feel bad right when it happens. He, on the other hand, will make noise and not even care much. I literally yell at him every day because he always wakes up our toddler. His office wall is connected to her bedroom, so any noise he makes while sitting at his desk, like eating or clicking his mouse loudly, will wake her up. I get mad at him, but he treats me like I'm overreacting. I again called him today asking him to please try to be quiet after he slammed his plate down when getting food to heat up in the kitchen. He told me, "You'll just have to get over it, it's life." He also told me that he's mad because he can't even make noise in his own house. I don't feel like I am being unreasonable, because as long as he's quiet enough that he doesn't wake her, I don't care. I am just tired of being the only one who cares. He brings up the fact that I also make noise, but at least I intentionally try not to and feel bad if I'm accidentally loud. I just hate to hearing my daughter cry because she was woken up. It literally causes me anxiety, and I can't do anything until she falls back asleep. Edit. I have a sound machine that we run pretty loudly, so that isn't a solution. Also, when I say eating, I mean slamming his fork down on his plate. He plays video games, so the clicking is like banging his mouse, lol. Story 30. AITA for basically saying never mind when trying to make plans with who I thought was a friend. Backstory. My daughter Allie is happily married to Doug for 10 years and they have 2 kids. Allie and Doug lived with my husband and I for a while and eventually got their own apartment. During this time, Doug's mom came to visit and got a hotel. After Allie and Doug moved out, we invited Doug's mom, Brenda, to stay at our home when visiting. She happily took us up on our offer several times, and even brought her husband Ray with her on occasion. Each time they would visit, we would take time off work, set up plans, and try to be good hosts. Fast forward a few years. Our granddaughter wanted to spend her birthday at Brenda's house because they live on a lake and have all the toys. Allie invited us to join them, and Brenda agreed to host us. The gathering had lots of extended family, and everyone had a great time and no issues whatsoever. Since then, we haven't seen Brenda or Ray only because we don't live in the same state. I assumed we were still friends though, as we had spent a lot of time together in the past. This past March, Brenda was at Allie's house visiting, and I mentioned that we will be in her area come late August. Brenda said to let her know when it gets closer and we can get together. A month before our arrival, I reminded Brenda and got thumbs up medium skin tone as a response. A week out, I sent another text. Again, thumbs up medium skin tone as a response. The day before I let her know where we will be staying, 20 minutes from her place. Brenda told me, let me know when you get settled in and we will make plans. Settled in? We are full-time travels and move every couple weeks, we don't need to settle in. But okay, day we arrive, I text saying we are here, and asked when and where would you like to meet. I was hoping they'd invite us on their boat as the weather was going to be super hot that weekend. I finally get a response saying she is sure we must be pretty busy. We aren't. And of course, so are they. Maybe we could stop by one evening after they get home from work so I can get the gifts my daughter gave her to pass along to us. I told Brenda sorry to hear it, but we have to pass as we have dogs that can't be left for extended periods, a restaurant would need a patio, and the weather was turning cold after the weekend. I told her she can leave the gifts on her porch and we can pick them up while we are out and about. Brenda said that would work. The next day, she texted she could come by some night after work to drop off your gifts and see your new crib. I sent thumbs up medium skin tone as a response, but I'm not holding my breath. I have decided to stop texting and just see what happens. To me, it's obvious she doesn't want to see us, and my husband is in the mindset of screw it. I keep feeling like I'm being sort of rude, but at the same time, I'm hurt because we hosted them all those times and they can't make any time for us, even with a 5-month heads up. We won't be back in this area, so there isn't a next time option. So AITA for saying never mind. Story 31. AITA for causing drama with a guest because she was bothering me while I was gaming. I'm a teen girl, and my uncle moved in last week, and his GF is crashing here for a few days. I love video games, and this week I was chillin' on my PS5 playing a story game when this girl suddenly starts a speakerphone call right next to me on the same couch while I'm playing. Like RLY rude. It's basically the same as starting a call next to someone trying to watch a movie. I got annoyed and the game vibe totally died, but I stayed quiet till the call ended BC. I didn't want to embarrass her. Luckily, it wasn't that long. I turned the TV volume up while she was talking, because I could barely hear the game over their voices. Then I heard her say she couldn't hear the other person that well. BC of my game, lol. But the game can only be played in one spot. She can make calls anywhere, even hell if she wants. She can move if she's bothered by noise. I can't. Anyway, I told my mom tonight she got pissed and sent my uncle a message about his GF's behavior. She wants to scold them. She said it's my space and no one should be yapping in my face, that the girl was being super inconsiderate. I'm glad it didn't slide, but I kind of feel bad too. Is this overreacting? Story 32. AITA for driving against the arrow in my parking garage. I was coming home from work one evening. I go in to park in my apartment's parking garage. It's a very quiet, flat, one-story garage, and there aren't a lot of people at all. Now, there are arrows on the ground that take you all the way around, but it's quicker and easier to just go against the arrows and park. The lanes are wide with ample room for two people to pass each other, and occasionally this does happen. I figured it's understood no one cares. So anyway, I'm coming home from work and I drive in against the arrow like I always do. Then there's a couple with a kid that starts crossing in front of me. I see them and stop short while the parents see me and they stop too. Then they wave me to keep driving. I thought that was the end of that. But I get out of the car and this woman comes up to me and starts going off about you have to follow the arrows and that's why you almost hit my husband and child. I feel like she made it way more dramatic than it was and she was so rude about it. And that nobody should have to follow the arrows in this quiet parking garage just because they're there when there's plenty of room for those rare occurrences when two people go at the same time anyway. Story 33. AITA for being pissed my band got a new vocalist without telling me. I'm 17M and I play drums in a punk rock band that's been around for about 4 months. It started with a friend from my class and some other guy I hadn't met. The bassist is from school too, someone I've barely spoken to. We've done maybe 10 rehearsals, been looking for a vocalist, and I thought we had everything sorted. About a week ago, we decided the lead guitarist, who's a really good friend of mine, would take on vocals. I was sure that was it. Then 2 days ago, I see it on our Instagram story. A huge celebratory announcement welcoming a new vocalist. Confetti, big smiles, the whole we made it vibe. And who is it? It's this one guy I absolutely despise, someone I know from the community. I had zero knowledge of this. I went to talk to the guitarist, trying to wrap my head around it, and all I got was him rambling about how he's really good and now we don't have to worry about vocals anymore. No mention of me, no acknowledgement that maybe it would have been nice to ask the person who wrote all our lyrics and all the drum parts. Just nothing. Went to the group chat. What's this? Found out. The bassist had no clue either. Nobody ever tells him shit anyway. Apparently it was just the two guitarists calling this guy and making it happen behind everyone's back. And to top it off, this new vocalist, he's got a main band already. Tons of shows, followers, the works, so of course he's basically guaranteed to overshadow the rest of us. Fantastic. I'm mad, dude. Not trying to be dramatic, but it's like all the work I've put in, all the songs I've written, suddenly doesn't matter and everyone else just quietly rearranged the band without even asking. Technically, I wasn't an original member of the band. They had this one dude that sucked incredibly for like 2 weeks, and they literally told me they accomplished nothing. So surely that's a reason for me to be even a slightly smaller voice here. In the past 2 days, I've just been arguing with my guitarist friend, best friend really, and telling him I'm not going to be in a band with that guy. But honestly, what pissed me off the most is that he didn't consult me at all. Like I'm just the band's slave. Show up, hit the drums, crank out lyrics, don't mind us, while we bring in a surprise frontman that makes you want to vomit. He keeps saying we can't just kick him the guy now, especially now that everybody knows. He says I'm overreacting and that he didn't know I hated the guy before he got him in. I've just told him today that my final call is that if the guy isn't out the band by the end of the week, I'm gone. Completely. And they can figure their own lyrics and drummer. He still has yet to respond. So Reddit, am I really the asshole for being mad at my band for getting a vocalist without any consultation whatsoever? Am I really overreacting? Story 34. AITA told my mom to speak more quietly. Long story short, my mom talks loudly when she is enthusiastic about something. Which is lovely that it happens that she often feels enthusiastic, but she will speak really quite loudly, even when we're right next to each other, both privately or in public spaces. I admit I'm probably more noise sensitive, but I do think she is on the louder side. We have been in a couple of situations when I have started to get overloaded in conversation due to the volume, and I'm aware that everything we are talking about is blasting out for all to enjoy as well. Today I was getting that overload feeling while she was talking to me on the train, and I asked her to speak more quietly as the volume was hurting my ears. Next thing I see, she stopped talking and became really upset. I tried to say sorry for being insensitive in my wording, but she said that it was mortifying, and every time we spent time together I asked her to be quiet. I realized I spoke in a reactive way and apologized again, but she didn't accept my apology and left on an earlier train stop. Now I'm left feeling really bad. Should I have said it in a kinder way, in a more private setting? If I'm honest though, I feel like if I told her out of context, she wouldn't have accepted it either and would probably have refuted that she has a tendency to speak loudly. AITA? Update. I apologized with flowers and thankfully, she said all was forgiven. Everyone's suggestions have helped me to understand what might be going on, what means she doesn't have awareness of volume. If you love judging these stories as much as I do, hit subscribe for more AITA drama.